quid to that failing bank. Now, enough of that. It's time for Talking Pints, and I'm joined by Craig Ainsworth. Craig, welcome to Talking Pints. Great to see you.
Thank you very much for having me.
Not at all. Former Royal Marine, elite bodyguard. But let's go back to the beginning. Really quite a checkered, from what I can see, start to your life. Sort of.
Absolutely.
Parents split up. You go to Australia. You're kind of stranded in Australia. But you're quite good at school, aren't you?
I've always enjoyed learning and bettering myself in every opportunity you can do, which is what drew me to the Royal Marines. And there's no better way to level up than actually joining something like the Royal Marines.
Yeah, because, you know, you were heading off to the Daily Mail. You were going to be a journalist. And so was there always this thought that maybe the military, maybe the Marines was where you might finish up? Absolutely.
And there was no reason for it either. I didn't have any family members, no friends. Nobody were actually serving in the military at the time. It was just something I felt a burning urge, just always drawn to it for a reason I can't explain.
And the Royal Marines? Why the Royal Marines?
If you're going to join, why not join with the best?
I mean, I should imagine, you know, you join up and you've heard all these stories about just how tough it is to pass.
And every one of them are true, I can assure you that.
They put you through hell.
Well, 32 weeks, it's the longest training, basic training. They call it basic training, but basic training on Earth. And you actually live every single day of that, you know. So it's amazing. The learning curve is steep throughout, but it's fantastic. Changed me in a positive way as an individual, as a person. And
what made you think you could do it?
I wanted to see if I could. I wanted to see if I could achieve something like that. I had a bit of audacity to actually believe I could achieve something like that. But it was kind of, I saw it as almost a get-out-of-jail card. I didn't see my life going anywhere, and I thought if I can become a Royal Marine and be one of those guys, then I'll be the best version of myself. And that's what I set out to achieve.
32 weeks.
I tell you, it's the longest 32 weeks of my life.
Oh, well, before you know it, you're not just in the Royal Marines, but you're in a war.
Absolutely.
And a war in Afghanistan that was, at times, very bloody.
It was, certainly.
Battalions, at times, you know, taking casualties, amazing medical backup, a lot of blokes being saved who would have died in Normandy.
Absolutely.
And places like that. But still, in terms of injury, wounding, quite significant percentages of people being wounded and killed.
Absolutely, it's devastating. Even just not the guys who are killed, but the guys who are injured, who still suffer now with even from the most minor injuries, with small back injuries or foot injuries, not to mention losing limbs. Yeah. So there's lots of guys out there and girls out there suffering even to this day.
Oh no! And you were there involved in firefights.
Yeah, absolutely.
Genuine battles. What happens to the mind when suddenly you're in a real combat, life and death situation?
Do you know, when you're building up and you have your you have information that it might kick off at any time. Obviously, you ramp up and you start to get nervous, as human beings do.
The adrenaline must go through the roof.
Through the roof, you can feel you become so primal. But as soon as it kicked off, I just found all of my training kicked in, and everyone around you is exactly the same. And you bond together with that band of brothers, and it's essentially you against the world at that very point. So,
well, you're one of those that's done it. You did your time. You served through the war. It's Armistice Day on Saturday. It's our national act of remembrance on Sunday. What does it mean to you?
It's about absent friends. It's about the sacrifice, not just of my friends, but the people that came before us. Second World War, it doesn't matter. But the freedoms that we experience today, I feel we've almost become a very spoilt society where we forget why we have such freedoms and what we have. It's so easy to look over those because of the way society's set up these days. But for me, it's about taking that time to sit back and appreciate the sacrifices of all those that went before me.
It was interesting, we had Mickey the cabbie in earlier saying, that some young people have kind of forgotten what it's all, or I've never known what it's all about. We had poppy sellers being intimidated, surrounded by mobs at stations. It's not good, is it? It's
not good, and it's obviously a harsh sense of delusion where the freedoms we have here, 4 freedoms of speech and things that have been earned by the guys that are represented by the poppies in which we wear. It's a sad state of affairs, and I don't understand it, if I'm honest with you.
No, well, I'm afraid a lot of us don't understand what's going on at the moment. But no, it's an important time. So, Craig, you do your time in the military and you go down this well-trodden route, which is former soldiers, former Marines, go into close protection. It's become the kind of almost a standard thing for people to do. What fascinates me about your story is that you decide to go into close protection, and kind of before you can say Jack Robinson, you are doing close protection not just for wealthy businessmen or politicians or whatever else it may be, but you suddenly get yourself into sort of the big celeb world.
Yes.
How does that happen?
A little bit of luck, like every gift in this. But I was very obsessive before I left the Royal Marines and put a lot of due diligence into the companies and things I worked for. And like when I joined the Royal Marines and aimed for the best I could find there, I did the same in security. And I was very fortunate to procure that position. And I very quickly found myself surrounded by people like your Chris Hemsworths, your Tom Hollands. And once your face has been recognised around London, and then I started my own company, people recognise you as that level of security, so that's what you attract. And I found it snowballing, and I was very, very fortunate at the very beginning of my career, for sure. Yeah,
and lots of other very big names that we're not allowed to talk about for reasons of security, and that's completely.
Thank you for that.
No. Well, I mean, I of course, Craig, have had to have close protection through many years with threats and goodness knows what. And I guess, in a sense, you become, more about these people than their own families, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. It's a very strange thing to even try to explain to anybody, but you're essentially a fly on the wall for every aspect of a family's life or an individual's life.
You know it all.
Absolutely, walking people from their hotel room or sometimes even their bedroom door. Yeah. And you're with them all day through every aspect, sometimes even entering the bathroom with them. Yeah. So you're with them and you understand every aspect. Yeah, you have to be everywhere.
I know, it is incredibly close. And then, of course, COVID hits. So there's nothing to do.
Yes.
So here you are, Craig Ainsworth, action man, Royal Marine, war veteran, elite bodyguard. You're stuck at home.
Yep, and many people always ask me, how did I become a Royal Marine? How did I do those jobs? But for me, I enjoyed that. That was great. I felt like I was built for it. But when I was made to sit at home and just stew with all of the situations I'd been through, as we've mentioned previously, some absent friends, and things began to build. And then, unfortunately, with that suffering, I began to lose friends as well, and actually lost 11 friends in 18 months to suicide.
Just unbelievable. And all people with similar backgrounds to you?
All similar backgrounds. Yeah. 7 actually ex-military. The rest, some from America, some from South Africa, some from Australia. So this was a global thing.
Terrible number.
And after that, I fell into a similar situation. I became very suicidal and began to spiral. And it wasn't, if it wasn't for my camaraderie of my Royal Marine brothers that stepped in to support me and essentially is why I'm sat here today.
The cost of lockdown.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, you've written a book about all of this.
I have indeed.
You've done it. It's got an amazing title, The Discombobulated Alpha. And there's a picture. So this is a true story. This is the story of your life, but it's kind of almost in novel form, isn't it?
Absolutely. What I wanted to do is I wanted to show people that no matter from my Royal Marine, bodyguard, or any of the aspects I've had, that people still suffer with mental health, and that's why people should speak about it, especially us men. Women are great at speaking with each other or expressing their feelings. Us guys, we don't do so as much. And what I'm trying to do is inspire people to actually share their feelings, not just, complain and moan, but actually have genuine conversations about how they feel and make it okay for men to speak about their mental health issues. I've recently moved into coaching and working with workshops, and it's amazed me at how many guys have never had those conversations. And those conversations are the backbone to being in the Royal Marines. You triage each other, you take care of each other, you notice that people aren't doing so well. And that's what we need to bring into the civilian world.
So in a funny sort of way, you kept all this, whatever problems you had there, from the past, the war, etc., you kept it all bottled up. The bad parts of being stuck at home, but it's made you reevaluate your life. And I have to say, I think, Craig, you are a very, very good role model to many people. You've achieved a lot in life, and I'm going to have a look at this book, and who knows, by the end of it, I might need to speak to somebody. Listen, thanks ever so much for joining me on Talking Pints.
Thank you for having me.